All right, the NBA draft lottery last night was pretty wild. A lot of teams moving around, Dallas jumping up a lot of spots to get the number one pick. So I thought on today's Four Verts episode, I would just explore, should the NFL go to a draft lottery system at some point in the future? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, yes or no, and we'll get into it here on today's show. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Four Verts, where we talk NFL and college football every single day. And was going to talk a little Trey Henderson today. We'll probably do that tomorrow. He's talking to the media right now, so stay tuned for that. But I just kind of wanted to capitalize on this NBA draft lottery, the hoopla that came from it, and really how big of a TV event and social media event this thing has become, especially when you have a juicy draft at the top with guys like Cooper Flagg. And could the NFL ever adopt a similar style system? I definitely don't think they'd go to a full-fledged, half the league is almost in the lottery system, but I do wonder if they could consider going down this path. I mean, you see all the movement here with the arrows on the left. I mean, Dallas jumping up, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Utah, Charlotte, Washington. It's kind of funny. Smaller market teams drop, more relevant teams jump. I know San Antonio, small market, but they're a very relevant NBA franchise, obviously. And look, there's pros and cons, right? If you're the Utah Jazz, you're like, Jesus, we won 17 games and we get the sixth pick. Whether they were tanking or not, that's up for debate. It's pretty clear that in the NBA, teams tank more than the NFL, especially for longer chunks of the season. And I just look at this and I'm like, the NFL likes TV events. They've turned the schedule release into a TV event. Could you imagine how big an NFL draft lottery TV event would be? I think you'd draw millions and millions of people to watch it if they went that route because it's become a big deal for the NBA, which isn't nearly as popular as the NFL in America. So I certainly, if you're Roger Goodell this morning and, in recent years, like it's at least something you've probably thought about when it comes to expanding the interest in your offseason. I also think this is pretty interesting. And I think Adam Silver deserves some credit for this. He's a polarizing commissioner for a lot of reasons. But since the NBA has kind of updated their draft odds lottery system, it used to be if you had the worst record, you had a 25% chance. Now it's down to, I think it's 15% or 14.5%, whatever the case may be. And the top three worst records share those percentages. Since they've gone to that, the team with the worst record in the NBA has not gotten the number one pick a single time. Now, you could debate, is that actually good? Shouldn't they at least get it every once in a while? But typically, the worst team in the NBA is one of the teams clearly and actively tanking. So I think what the NBA has done is to try to limit that. Now, teams still tank. It's not like it's prevented it. But as time goes on, maybe you'll see less and less of it because you're not getting rewarded at least to the highest degree, by tanking. I mean, we've seen teams like Portland do it year after year. Philadelphia, obviously, early on in the process was doing it, and that hasn't really even paid off for the 76ers. And in recent years, they haven't tanked. And look, last night they move up and get a top three pick. So I do think the NBA deserves some credit for at least trying to limit the tanking. Whether or not tanking has increased or decreased, that's up for debate. But one thing that can't be disputed is the worst record teams aren't necessarily being rewarded because they were extremely bad teams. So to circle back to the NFL, I do think 14 teams is too many. Like, should the Bengals have a chance to get the number one pick in this last draft? Probably not. Like, that's they're probably too good of a team to reward for that possibility. But I think 5 to 8 teams, like you look at last year, the top 10 picks, I don't even think it has to be the same amount of teams next year. Maybe there's a natural cutoff. Like last year, I think 6 would have been the sweet spot, right? Because you had 3 teams with 3 wins, 3 teams with 4 wins, right? Like I don't think like a team with 3 wins and then an 8-win team should be in the lottery necessarily. But 4, 5, up to 8 teams, I think that could be a reasonable number. Now, in the NFL, you'd have to probably alter that range a little bit because it's much more common to have the same record with another team, right? So you could have certain years where 9 teams, 10 teams are within 2 games of each other like last year. So I think last year 6 teams would have been the sweet spot from Tennessee all the way to Las Vegas. So coming up next, I'll kind of go through a proposal of a draft lottery. I'm not even sure I would for sure want to do a lottery in the NFL, but as a consumer, I'd be intrigued. There's no question about that. As a content creator, it would be absolutely fascinating. So we'll kind of explore a draft lottery proposal here in just a moment. But be sure to subscribe to the channel. Daily NFL content. We got Trey Hendrickson Buzz to discuss. The NFL schedule's dropping tomorrow. We'll try to do something around that as well. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications here on Verts. That way you never miss out. We're like 55, I think, subscribers away from 10,000 here on the channel. If you want daily and free content, we got you guys covered. Okay, here's just a proposal. Top 3 worst records each get a 20% chance. So higher than the NBA because, again, teams in the NFL aren't tanking as prevalently. You see it, week 17, week 18 sometimes, but you're not seeing it in week 10. Whereas in the NBA, by the All-Star break, 5 teams are tanking. 4th, 5th record, 15%, and then 6th worst record, 10% chance, right? So not as many teams, still a decent chunk of a chance for the team sitting there at the top, and you're still guaranteed, a top 5, top 6 pick in that scenario. And you just think about it, too, in the NFL, the power of the quarterback, right? Like, in the NBA, the lottery is so fascinating because, like Dallas last night, I mean, what a brutal few months for that franchise and that fan base, but now it's like, oh my God, Cooper Flagg, you can kind of hit the reset button. Like no one saw that coming, but it just changes everything for a team. Think if the Raiders would have gotten the number 1 pick. Well, then they don't trade for Geno Smith. They draft Cam Ward, and if he hits, maybe the Raiders are back for the first time in 20 years. So it's one of those things. And you know what else it leads to if you go to this lottery and teams end up in a slot they weren't necessarily expected? Even more trades, draws more interest. Everybody wins from a league consumer interest standpoint. So, again, I'm not pounding the table for this for the NFL because I don't think the NFL has a massive tanking problem. But I do think it would be pretty interesting. I mean, think about the draft last year, right? Like, imagine if that was a lottery. Now, if you're a Bears or a Commanders fan, you're probably, whoa, no. We don't, or even a Patriots fan getting Drake May, whatever. Like, yeah, we're good with how it played out. But with that good of a QB draft, could you imagine if there was some level of a lottery system? I mean, the interest would just be off the charts for the National Football League. So I wouldn't be shocked if at some point they at least looked into this. Now, you need 75% of ownership to jump through. You got a lot of boomers owning these teams. So I'm not sure you'd ever get enough of a percentage to pass this type of thing. But I do think it's generated more or always generated interest for the NBA, and especially on lottery night the last 6, 7, 8 years since they've gone to this new format, because if you're in the 10th, 11th pick last night slot for the Mavs, they jump up to 1. Like, it's it's pretty crazy how it's been able to happen a few times in that regard. Now, will it ever happen? Will the NFL ever do it? Again, I think on the potential that it could happen, they love money. They love eyeballs. You televise this thing, you put it on ESPN, you're going to get 10 million people to watch it, right? Content creators all over the world are going to be talking about it. It would be, you think the NBA one is huge? The NFL one would be 5X. I mean, it would do absolutely crazy numbers and would just create so much interest within the league in an offseason that already generates a ton of interest. But again, NFL doesn't have a major tanking problem. I do think you see it in week 17 and 18 sometimes where teams are clearly out of it and, players are trying, like the guys out there are trying, but, if a guy could play through a sore ankle, maybe he's inactive or something like that. Like there are levels to it that you do see, not to the NBA standard where where are the top 7 players on the team? Oh, load management night, right? There's no load management in the NFL, but there are small examples where you have seen it, especially in recent years. Should the NFL go to a draft lottery system? Would you like to see it? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Again, if they did, I think a middle ground, 5 to 8 teams, I think that would be the sweet spot to kind of target if you were to go that route. But I'm not necessarily expecting it in the near future, although it would be very, very exciting. My name is Harrison Graham. Be sure to lock us in. Like I said, hit that subscribe button. We are closing in on 10,000 subscribers. I would appreciate your help in helping us get there. And we'll see you guys soon here on 4 Verts. Peace.